Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your interest in this joint learning opportunity and for your efforts in working on climate. My name is Irene Polney, and I serve as the Director of Field Research for Carbon to Sea Initiative. We are a climate science funder investigating whether the ocean can help us reverse climate change. As a part of this work, we grant to scientific consortia and technology teams around the world working on important fundamental questions around ocean-based carbon dioxide removal. One current method we're exploring is called Ocean Alkalinity Enhancement. In short, we call this OAE. In effect, it is working to enhance the ocean's natural ability to safely store carbon. It is a high potential method with some important open questions that we're working to help answer. We also design and run our own programs internally. One such program is to encourage more fieldwork for OAE. Halifax is a very unique site in that it hosts two grantees from our program, Dalhousie University and Planetary Technologies. They have spent several years preparing for and designing field research for OAE, and this year have graciously opened up their project for outside researchers. This is a very unique opportunity. Anyone working in this field knows how incredibly difficult it is to achieve field research, and is a rare treat to have the collaboration of the incredible scientists from these teams. I have learned a lot in working with them, and I'm very proud to extend this opportunity to additional researchers. It's also important to know this is the first of hopefully many joint learning opportunities that we hope to do in the future. So that's to say that we may have some kinks in the process, and we thank you for your patience and welcome your feedback on how to make this all more impactful. So thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to reading your proposals and answering your questions. I'll now turn it over to Miriam Zittner, our General Manager of Canada, and Levi Morrison, Director of Innovation at COVE, to introduce the purpose and agenda for this call.
Thank you, Irene, and thank you all for joining us today. Really excited about this session. Entering into it, presuming that most everyone on the line has read through the joint learning opportunity documents and the corresponding documents that outline in quite a lot of detail the research that's happening this summer. So what we're going to do at the top of this call is do a quick overview of where we are right now, and then open it up for about 45-minute Q&A session. As Irene noted, there might be a few kinks, so we appreciate your patience with us as we develop this program. Really excited again to be working here in partnership with COVE, the Center for Ocean Ventures and Entrepreneurship. COVE collaborates with more than 3,000 organizations internationally and hosts 65 companies at its organization. We're happy to partner with COVE on the joint learning opportunity, which builds on the research that Planetary and researchers from Dalhousie and the Ocean Alk-Align team are doing. So what is the joint learning opportunity? Again, I think most of you probably have spent a good amount of time reading through in anticipation of being able to submit a response to the RFP. A quick reminder that Planetary Technologies and researchers from Dalhousie with the Ocean Alk-Align team last fall did, I think, possibly the world's first, if not largest, Ocean Alkalinity edition to some great effect. This summer/fall will be the second Alkalinity edition and collaboration amongst Planetary and the researchers at Dalhousie, and we're opening this up to invite other researchers and MRV-focused technology companies to take advantage of the Alkalinity edition that is already happening. We feel this is a great way to be able to increase efficiencies and economies of scale, and the impact of the research that's already happening. As everybody on the line knows, there's a real sense of urgency here with respect to determining whether or not and how ocean alkalinity enhancement can help heal the planet, and sort of being as quick as reasonable in advancing the research is really paramount, and doing so in collaboration. So we're hopeful that this joint learning opportunity, as Irene said, will be the first of many. We're sort of piloting it in Halifax, but there's a notion that we can scale it globally, learn from the experience here as we all aim to work together and again, advance the science to help us get to the question, the answer to the question if and how OAE can scale. I've made a brief reference to our partners here. This slide provides you with an overview of who all is in the pen here. Carbon to Sea Initiative, Irene told you a little bit about. I will shortly hand this over to Levi, my colleague, who's the Director of Innovation at COVE, and he can provide you with more detail around COVE, Planetary technologies, I suspect you're all quite familiar with. And there's information here about the researchers from Dalhousie University and the Ocean Alk-Align team, which both Planetary and Alkaline have been grant recipients of Carbon to Sea. Also wanted to provide some faces to the names. You'll see in this slide that there's quite a robust team behind this. It includes 4 partners, and within the partner organizations, many people behind the scenes trying to make sure that the research progresses smoothly, that our partnerships can help support and advance in a way that, again, increases efficiencies and enables researchers and MRV-focused technology companies to really get to the work at hand, while those of us behind the scenes can help support through logistics and any other sort of questions that you might have about how best to be able to focus on your area of expertise while we provide you with additional sort of administrative logistics support in the background. Before getting into the details on the joint learning opportunity, just a quick reminder about our timelines. We're looking to have responses to the RFP in by July 15th. We appreciate that that's probably quite tight in the circles that you run in. I believe that often researchers and technology companies tend to have a little bit more time, but with alkalinity going in the water, August to beginning of December, we really wanted to open this up as soon as possible. So appreciate that the timelines might seem compressed. We're hopeful that having about 3 weeks to respond and seeing that the RFP had, I think, some good detail around what's happening will enable you to provide responses that you feel good about. We're certainly open to questions and providing answers to those questions via this call. And if you have anything else you're curious about, you can send an email to innovation@coveocean.com. So once we receive your responses, we'll be deliberating in the background. And I think Levi might share a little bit more about that process. And we'll arrive at a conclusion about who we're going to invite in and be able to support by July 22nd. So again, timelines are tight, but at the very least, we're hopeful that soon you'll be aware about whether or not the proposal that you've submitted has been assessed as being one that is complementary and additive, and we will be in touch with you about that around and or on July 22nd. So with that, I will hand it over to Levi and remind you that at the end of his presentation, if you have any questions, to put them in or to raise your hand, and any other commentary that you have, you can feel free to put into the chat. With that, I will hand it over to my colleague, Levi. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. So good afternoon and good morning. My name is Levi Morrison, and I'm part of the JLO management team behind the email at innovation@coveocean.com. I work at COVE as Director of Innovation, have the pleasure of working with this phenomenal team to further ocean alkalinity enhancement projects and research. And I'm just going to take you through a few more of the slide details. This will include what work is being performed here already, what's being performed in the near future, what the priorities are for this joint learning opportunity, and how you can maximize the impact of your proposal and potential project. So for this joint learning opportunity, the research priority areas can be broken into 3 primary categories: scientific, technical, and social. Scientific focuses on understanding the ecological impacts of OAE and the new chemical balance resulting from the addition. Technical focuses on developing and refining the methods and technologies to produce measurements assessing alkalinity addition effects. Whereas social focuses on engaging with interested and affected parties in innovative ways to seek feedback and advance ongoing methods of engagement and collaboration. There is a huge amount of work that is already being performed in Halifax in the field of ocean alkalinity enhancement research, and it has laid a strong foundation for more research to take place. We, of course, want research activities performed through this JLO to be complementary to other research and activities taking place, and to leverage the existing research for this opportunity of alkalinity releases in Halifax in your project's design. While this slide provides a quick summary, more details of the Halifax 2024 Ocean Alkalinity Enhancement field trials can be found through the JLO RFP document. So the details of the JLO, there is an award bundle where research funding, where the total project allotted to this program is $250,000 USD divided amongst winning proponents. Opportunity to conduct research alongside novel OAE trials. As part of the award bundle, there will be logistical, operational, and permitting support that's provided by some of the JLO partners through the process. And there'll be access given to alkalinity release and dosing data so that you can properly design your experiments and learn about what's going on locally, close to real time. The core terms and conditions that we're targeting is that the data is to be shared under FAIR principles. Priority will be given to those using open access repositories adhering to FAIR, which is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable principles of data sharing. One of the core principles under this research is that data and findings should be open so that others can learn from it and progress this important field. The successful applicants must consequently agree to publicly share data generated from their funded research within 3 to 12 months of project completion, of course, depending on the complexity of data analysis and synthesis. It must be collaborative and complementary to existing research activities. The communications around what is being performed must be public. There will be midpoint, final, and financial reports. And of course, the experiments being performed must have regulatory compliance in the environment that they're being performed in. So there's quite a bit of data that's being explored by researchers in the region. And to supplement this, we have actually provided a few specific research areas that might require a bit more exploration in the JLO RFP. These were provided directly from some of the researchers who have collected data directly in the areas listed above. These research areas include biological impacts, study the responses of biological community to changes in water or sediment that result from ocean alkalinity enhancement, impacts of feedstock accumulation, research around trace metals, such as their monitoring in the water and the sediment, research surrounding advancing MRV technologies, monitoring, reporting, and verification. Research around sensor deployment, so optimization of sensor deployment, including platform integration or anti-fouling, in situ particle dynamics and dissolution kinetics. And then social areas such as community participation and co-creation, community engagement, and community experience. So while there are parameters that are already being explored, there is still lots of potential scientific, technical, and social research topics that require further exploration. Now, there are a multitude of considerations in considering the joint learning opportunity, but the 4 primary evaluation criteria are scientific merit. That's to say that proposed research demonstrates scientific excellence, originality, and rigor within the field of ocean alkalinity. It must be a strategic research fit given the priorities of the JLO. So the proposed research addresses key opportunity areas and provides significant and additional learning beyond the scope of existing research. It must have clarity and be technically feasible. The proposed approach is feasible and ideally has a high likelihood of a successful outcome. And organization and expert qualifications. The team has the necessary experience, qualifications, and capacity to deliver the activities that have been proposed. Now, additional considerations as we evaluate the JLOs would include community benefit, budget and cost efficiency, project management and timeline, and of course, potential risks that are affiliated with the proposed activities. So at this time, we'd like to open up the floor to questions. A reminder, if you do have a question, then please use the hand raise function within Zoom. And if you're not comfortable using your audio or doing so, please directly populate the chat with the questions that you have. Thank you, everyone. And I'll be handing over the moderation of the questions to Miriam Zittner.
Thank you all. So I'm just looking at the attendee list to see if anyone has their hand up. Nicholas, over to you. What is your question?
Hey, Miriam. I have a quick question. Do you know how many proposals you'll fund. I understand the pool is 250K, but if you have, you know, I don't know, 1,000 awardees, that's a $250. So I know that's an exaggeration, but just to know what's the scope of what we can do.
Yeah, it's a fair point. So we do not plan to have $250,000 $1 projects. What we'll be doing is assessing against the criteria, which Levi provided an overview of, and in so doing, taking a look at the budget that you and other proponents will be including, and considering the budget, the percentage of the budget that we're able to support, alongside the technical, scientific, and social criteria that we've had. I know that that's a vague answer. It's not specific. I'm not saying we've got, you know, we're going to do two $125,000 proposals. I think it will depend. There's a lot of people on the decision-making panel that are experts in the field, and trust them to arrive at a combination of proposals that best maximize the opportunity here. I would suggest that, you know, the financial support will be in the tens of thousands, but I see Irene coming online. You might have something to add. Irene?
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. I mean, one other thought that or one other criteria that we're considering is how this will all integrate with the existing research. And so having a high number of projects that need a lot of collaboration with the existing teams could cause some, you know, we don't want to disrupt the existing research. So in my view, the less is more in this scenario, so that we can get a lot out of it without disrupting kind of existing research practices.
Nick, does that answer your question?
Yes, I think would it help if the teams had different scopes with different budgets within the proposal?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. We did have some conversations about phases. So for example, not to sound like McDonald's, but if you had a small, medium, and large size proposal, it could enable us to consider it in a multiplicity of contexts. So I certainly don't want to add work to your plate, but some conversations I've had have looked like, you know, if we had X number of dollars, we would do Y. If we had 3X, we would do Z. So I would suggest that it's up to you if you're interested in and have the bandwidth to give us scaled responses. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Happy to review that.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Alareza, your hand is raised, and I hope I've pronounced your name accurately, and if not, please let me know.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. It's Ali Reza. So I have a couple of questions. I just received a PDF file from my colleague about this call, and first of all, like, is there any chance that the deadline can get extended? Like July, I know it's July 13, but like, was there any discussion? Was there any prior request for deadline extension or not?
I can see Irene smiling again. I'll answer quickly and then hand it over to her. Alkalinity is going in the water at the beginning of August, and so we really aspire to be able to choose proponents as quickly as possible. In some cases, the logistics might be quite intense. Things like the potential to invite vessels from the US to come here might require cross-border management. So we feel like it's important to have a bit of a buffer. So if we let proponents know by July 22nd and the alkalinity is in August, that even alone is only a week in between. The deadlines are quite tight, and we appreciate that they are. I'm not sure that there's much flexibility around it, given the existing research that's already happening and the goal to take advantage of that. But Irene, if you have anything to add or subtract.
That's understandable. Thank you. And regarding the, when you say existing research and well, is there any, because in the PDF file, I don't see any requirements regarding, you know, getting letters of support from the industry partners or something. Is there anything that can help to strengthen the proposal, like getting a letter of support or something from an industry partner? Is that required or not? Or that can be help or not?
Yes, so I think you'll see in the RFP outline that there's a suggestion that the length of the response be up to 10 pages, and beyond that, you should feel free to add any letters of support. We're happy to let you know what it is that we're interested in assessing and looking at, and to defer to you to figure out how best to make a persuasive argument. If there are letters of support that you'd like to get and would like to include, by all means, you should feel free. It's not necessary, but anything that you would like to include to provide us with the information you think we need to be able to choose you, we're happy to review.
Perfect. And finally, again, like, because I'm new to Halifax, I don't know like about the policies in Nova Scotia. Sorry about like funny questions that I ask. Some of the times, the grant applications put some, you know, priorities on involving minorities or indigenous people, this kind of things. I was wondering, like, is that part of the proposal? Do you consider some factors like that as well or not?
Yeah, we're again happy to have Irene jump in, but we are assessing submissions based on robust criteria. If you have a DEI policy that you'd like to include, please feel free to consider it. Some of the companies that we have spent time with and organizations that we have spent time with are really in their infancy, as the field is in its infancy. And not everyone has robust DEI policies as of yet. And so we did not include that in the JLO document because we didn't want to leave anyone out of it who perhaps, you know, has a small team that's newly in the field. But if you have information that you want to share, that will certainly be considered by us. And as with anyone in the field of innovation, and certainly Ocean's considerations to a variety of groups is important to us.
Perfect. And lastly, sorry if I'm taking.
Sorry, others.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, so both of these kind of the second and third questions relate also to your first question around the timeline. A lot of these kind of assets that would make a proposal more compelling that you typically would see in an RFP, we also value all of these things, but we're balancing it against the timeline, which we recognize is really, really fast. So we're trying to both, you know, make it feasible for people to participate as much as we can. And then in the future, expect to see a lot more of these kind of best practices embedded when people have more time to prepare.
But this call is specifically about like the 250K and like if the project has the potential to get extended, we should explain it like within the proposal. That's what you suggest.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure. At the moment, I don't see any hands. Oh, Laura, over to you.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for sharing all this information about the JLO. I was wondering if any sort of special considerations are being made for students or early career scientists who want to be involved. Is there any sort of opportunity for co-producing science or putting in a proposal that is almost like a collaboration for scientists who maybe don't have a team behind them?
Yeah, I think as we discussed, there's a few areas of focus that we're leaning in on, the scientific, technical, and social, and are assessing inputs based on those criteria. If you have an interesting and compelling response to submit that includes a collaboration amongst many parties, we're happy to assess.
Laura,
Yeah,
if offering
Levi noted that one of the criteria is innovation and creativity, and so it sounds to me like what you've got on your mind sounds like it could fall within that.
And this is a great time to meet potential collaborators. So if you're offering some collaboration, maybe folks on the line would be interested in chatting with you further.
Absolutely, that is definitely what I'm offering. And yeah, if anybody on the call is interested in co-producing research and potentially matching grant funding, please let me know and I'll drop my email in the chat.
Yeah, that would be great if you put your email in the chat, Laura. I see you, Alireza. I'm just going to hand it over to Mallory first and then get back to you. And Nina, I see you there as well. So we'll go Mallory, Alireza, and then Nina. Over to you, Mallory.
Hey folks, very targeted question on this one. As I read it, this is all to support the field studies, which is great. Would there be any consideration towards proposals that might want to take samples specifically for lab experiments in other contexts? For example, grabbing a selection of alkalinity in seawater and then moving that out to a lab perhaps to work around dissolution. Is that in scope or out of scope for this particular proposal that's looking at the field?
I see Irene nodding, so I'm going to hand it over to her to answer.
Yeah, and this, I would invite other folks on the line to participate as well. I think if taking samples and then conducting lab research helps us answer some of those scientific or technical questions, absolutely in scope. It doesn't have to be something that happens exclusively in the field. But perhaps David or Katja or others have something to add.
I think you said what I would say, that, if it advances the science, then it's worthwhile proposing.
I'll just add to that. So the idea, I guess, of JLO is to address the questions with the field studies that cannot be otherwise addressed in a smaller scale mesocosmal lab study. So if the proposed lab experiment addresses an important question of the field study, then I think it's totally legit. Yeah.
Thumbs up from Will. Okay, over to you, Alireza.
Yeah, thank you. Just for clarification, the outline says that the proposal should not be more than 5 to 10 pages, exclusive of supporting documentation. Would that also be including the references? Like, for example, the references must be within that 10 page, or?
No, your letters of support or references are above and beyond the 10 pages. So the 10 pages would be the content that you, excuse me, draft yourself.
Okay.
Any supporting documentation is above and beyond that.
But I assume that if we are going to include any figures or something, that must be in the 5 to 10 pages, right?
Excuse me, figures meaning addendums?
Sorry?
When you say figures, do you mean a more robust
Proposal related figures, yeah. Proposal related figure, like schematics of devices or something.
Those can be above and beyond. Irene?
No, I was just going to say, use your judgment on that. If it's going to extend it by 30 minutes, I would err towards less.
I see. Okay, I'm asking because just like 5 to 10 pages is giving us a lot of freedom, like extra 5 from the first 5. I was wondering, like, maybe you guys consider the references within the 10 pages, but you're saying that those can be also included outside of this 10 pages. Thank you.
You're welcome. Over to you, Nina, and then I see Leonard. Well, I'll hand it over to you after Nina.
Yeah, hi guys, nice to see you here. I'm curious if I could get more insights on what's actually gonna be in the water at the time of the trial, more specifically, like what sort of concentration gradients we could expect, duration of the signal, just something that would help us plan the experimental work, use of methods, given the sensitivity of various biological methods that we could apply. Just how to go about like getting more background information that you're expecting would be the case in the field.
So
Thank
I
you.
will hand that over to Will, Dasha, and Katya to answer. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Tina. Good to hear from you. I think in terms of concentration gradients, in terms of the concentration coming out of the pipe, I'm just looking at the detailed document. I think those are in there. You know, the concentration gradient as it moves away, pardon me, as it moves away from the pipe, those are obviously pretty difficult to predict. If you have more questions about the trial, you can reach out to me directly. But aside, like from what's in the detailed document is pretty, you know, pretty detailed, for lack of a better word. But if you have specific additional questions, I would just, you know, reach out to me.
Thanks. Leonard, over to you.
Yeah, hi. Hi Miriam and everyone. I was just wondering, as you know, I'm part of Ocean Alk-Align. I don't work in in Halifax specifically. Was just wondering about eligibility. Is that an issue, or is that, you know, are we eligible even if we're already in Ocean Alk-Align and colleagues working in the area?
Yeah, I see again, Irene nodding, happy to hand it over to her, but yes, the short answer is yes. Irene, do you have anything
So
to add?
yes, eligible, or okay.
Yes, eligible.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
Since there's no hand up, maybe I can quickly talk a little bit more to Nina's question about the concentration gradients. So Nina, we've done detailed model simulations from last year's edition, and those are available on a public repository. So that would be, you know, one other way of getting an idea what the concentrations look like. I'm happy to share that link.
Great, yeah, thanks. And maybe just to speak on the duration of the signal, is that information also publicly available, or could I contact somebody specifically to have a conversation about this? Because that's crucial to be actually, you know, able to plan for some sort of experimental work for the biology.
You can reach out to me, Nina. I have measurements from last year, so it will give you a ballpark numbers. You know, not exactly what you would expect this year, but at least, you know, the duration wise, yeah, I think it will be helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
If I can make a quick process recommendation for folks who already know the scientists working on here and have that relationship and contact, please also CC the innovation at COVE Ocean so that the management team has that visibility and then can also make the answers transparent to other proponents. Great question so far, by the way.
If anyone has any other questions, big or small, please let us know.
I just had one more.
Mhm.
Sorry. So you mentioned that the priority goes to the research that is kind of available to be deployed, right? I was wondering how much priority goes to the novelty of the research. Does that has any importance in the proposal rankings? Like how much should we consider the novelty of the projects?
I suspect that that will be considered within the context of the multiplicity of responses that we'll get. I'm not sure if anyone here on the line has a percentage allotment to it, but it is certainly a consideration.
Or, you know, when it comes to deliverables, do you guys like considering, you know, what sort of deliverables would be fitting in addition to, you know, getting the results and job done, like possibility of publishing papers, patents, these kind of things also have a separate kind of score or not?
I think that would be bundled under kind of the benefits and the impact that you anticipate your research will deliver to the field.
I see. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Nina, over to you.
All right, just one more. I guess I'm wondering if how do you value or how is it established that you are basically addressing new scientific goals and maybe a little bit more widespread versus like showing a very strong collaborative efforts with the scientists on board this trial as well. I guess just the how to show the depth of collaboration with the existing team in there already, how crucial it is, for example, for biological experimentalists to really show a link with the like modeling outputs. Yeah, for example.
So I would defer to, excuse me, Katja, Will, Dasha, and David Keller to answer that.
So I would say that in terms of the collaborative link, the biggest emphasis is to avoid duplication and interference. We want synergy rather than, getting into each other's way. And so I think that means if you have a freestanding, well-defined idea that does not duplicate or interfere with something that's being done, then that's fine. You don't have to force something that doesn't really make sense or isn't naturally there. Does that answer the question?
Just like, you could propose something like, oh, we'll just do this and this based on maybe some conceptual numbers that are out there, but maybe stronger way of, like model outputs really supporting biological work would be a much tighter integration of the observational and modeling efforts in order to have a much more targeted biological research done. So I guess just wonder about the depth of showing that integration.
I think the key to the integration is that the expectation is that people are in Halifax and participating in getting their hands wet in Halifax harbor water. I think that's the key part that I think Dasha already tried to emphasize earlier. That's the key part. That's the most important link, in my opinion.
Yeah,
That answer?
I'll just add really quickly to say, everything that Katja said, I'm aligned with. The other important thing is that knowledge sharing and data sharing are also really important. So you don't need to force collaboration that may not make sense for sure, but being, having a smooth and open collaboration is going to be very helpful, obviously.
Thanks. Laura, your actual hand is up.
Will there be any opportunity for feedback during the application process?
So can you explain what you're thinking about more? Do you mean you would submit it? Perhaps the reviewing team has questions and we'd reach back out to you to have those questions asked and answered, or?
Exactly, or we were talking about scope or scale of scope. Let's say there's a situation in which there's a promising proposal, but maybe it needs to be scaled down in order to fit the budget. Will there be any sort of conversation, or given the short timeline, is it just kind of like you take the proposals as face value and accept or reject?
Yeah, so my suggestion would be, and I would defer to Katja and Will and Dasha and David and Irene to jump in if they have anything to add or subtract, is that when we convene to review the proposals, that there will be a robust discussion, and that, as Irene noted at the beginning, we're sort of making this up as we go. So if we get a proposal and it looks amazing, but there are also 5 others, and we together, the collective, say, it would be great if we could do this, but fractionally, or it would be great if we could do this 10x. I think we're all open to having those conversations.
The only thing that I would add is to make this as easy as possible for the reviewing team. So if you already know in your mind that you'd be happy to have one version or another, better include it, just to make that process as streamlined as possible. We don't want to be going back to 20 different proposals with questions.
Great, thank you.
Any more questions?
I just had one more. This video is being recorded. Like, do you share it with us? Because I was a little bit late this morning.
Yeah, so I think our plan right now is to track the questions and answers and share those with everyone. I'm certainly happy to share the video if everybody on the line agrees to doing that. But at minimum, we do plan to share Q&A resulting from this session.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Didn't miss anything material, Ariza. Everything's in the RFP.
Thanks.
Okay. Looking now. Last chance, otherwise we will, oh, Kirby, over to you.
Hi, sorry. One last question. You mentioned the alkalinity dosing. The first one is going to happen towards the beginning of August. Are there multiple planned throughout the fall and winter, or just one and then a long-term study of it? I didn't, maybe I missed that in the proposal, but I was just curious what if there were, how many were planned over the next 6 months?
Yeah, happy to field that over to Will for response.
That was Kirby, right? It's in the detailed trial plans, the schedule for the dosing. So you can find it in there. If you go one layer deeper than the RFP, the details are in there. It's a prolonged edition, not a single shot.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I missed that on the first read through.
And to that point, you should feel free to submit activities throughout that period. It doesn't have to start at the very beginning of the release. There's plenty of weeks to conduct research.
That's part of the logic behind the plan, is to allow for flexibility in the research that gets done.
Any other questions? No? Okay, so with that, I think we'll close now. Levi, I'm not sure if you have anything to add. I just wanted to reiterate the email address that we have. So if something comes up subsequent to this call that's on your mind, please feel free to email innovation@coveocean.com. Levi, was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, quite literally the emphasis of just that email. If there's questions alongside the process, additional clarity required. If there's anything that's confusing in the RFP document, just reach out anytime. And thank you to everybody who took the time to participate in this call. And we're very much looking forward to learning more about your proposals as they come in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Take care, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.